Love God so great that we're so close to God, and as we're getting so close to God, our husband is getting so close to God, and we just let's do it like this. We just meet, our husband and I.
Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. Now this video is going to be pretty long and interesting. We have a young lady who is going to be giving us a story time on how she also had a baby by a married man while living in a shelter. I don't know if that's like a thing, so let's go ahead and hear this crap of a story, shall we?
We love God so great that we're so close to God, and as we're getting so close to God, our husband is getting so close to God, and we just let's do it like this. We just meet, our husband and I. We're getting close to God, our husbands will meet us, but we can only do that if we slay in our singleness, right, boos? How I became a side chick to a man who was married. So I went to text my oldest son's father. I had already had 2 kids at this time. Had my 5-year-old, he was 5 at the time, and I had just had my daughter. She was about 6 months, 5 or 6 months. I went to go text my oldest son's father. Why did I text the wrong number, y'all? A few minutes later, after I hit send, I get a reply, and the reply says, "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I got 5 kids, and none of them are named JJ." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry, wrong number." The next day, I get a call from the number 1243. In my mind, I saw 1234. And so I'm thinking it's my son's father. So I pick up like, "Hey, yeah, I need, X amount of dollars for," and then a voice on the line go like, "This is not your baby father." He's like, "But I just want to talk to you and get to know you a little bit." Okay. And of course she was like, go mommy, get it mommy, we about to get some
It's that bad for some of you chicks. Like, some of y'all be so thirsty and ready for dudes that you will accept random stranger phone numbers. Somebody you don't even know what they look like. They could be a serial killer. You're totally gonna meet the guy who you accidentally randomly text trying to contact one of your baby daddies. Clearly she had some hoe days. I'm not here to judge, but clearly that's what we're looking at.
Right? And I'm like, calm down. We can't act too size. Calm down. So I'm like, it's no way you're coming all the way out to Gaithersburg to come see me, and it's no way I'm about to go all the way out to DC to come, for no dick appointment. We talking on the phone, and talking leads to one night him saying, "Hey, I'm tired of pleasuring myself." He says, "You sound great on the phone. Can I see you in person?" So we go out to this little spot. He drives an hour down to pick me up, and we go to a little hole in the wall, little spot in Silver Spring. I'm about to get some dick tonight. But I gotta play cool. I gotta play it off. But I know I'm about to get some dick tonight. I was sprung. From the first time I've had it. I was sprung. When he told me he was married, it went in one ear and out the other.
It went in one ear and out the other because you already had 2 kids by 2 other men. And you already know that your sexual marketplace value is practically 0 to nothing, and sleeping with married men. This is just all bad.
Because he was like, "Oh, I'm married and we're separated." 2, I'm not really in a situation to be, dating anyone. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I just want some dick, for real. But how many of us know that as females, we can't do that? We will catch feelings. And lo and behold, my little behind caught some feelings for him. January rolls around again, and I'm no longer living at my mom's house. We are in a shelter with my oldest son and my daughter. We're at a shelter. We could not go out the first few months. Like, you had to have a night pass, an overnight pass to go out, and you also had to have been there for a while. One day I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna risk whatever I don't care what they buy. They could give me housing all they want. I'm about to risk it all for some dick today. And he comes down and we have sex, and I promise y'all that was the day I got pregnant. I go back into the shelter later on that night. It was like 1 o'clock at night. I didn't have a night pass, but That night, it just so happened to be that the person who was on duty was one of the girls that I was cool with. Like, she's like, listen, don't let it happen again. I won't say nothing. My mom came to visit me and the kids. She actually came to pick up the kids because I had to go to an interview, but I didn't have time to drop them off. She came to pick up the kids and she was like, are you pregnant? And I was like, no. The day counselors come in the next day. I ended up getting kicked out the shelter.
Wow. So not only are you irresponsible with your reproductive organs, but you're also irresponsible with your housing, to the point where you're literally allowed to live in a shelter, which I'm assuming is either free or discounted. And you can't even follow the simple rules that they have for you, knowing that you have 2 children that'll end up homeless with you if you lose this spot. But the D appointments are so important with this married man who, ladies, I'm sorry, if you have a vagina and you're young, there should be no way you're homeless. Honey, I'm not condoning being a hoe or selling yourself or anything, but at the end of the day, I would rather be giving it to somebody and getting some type of monetary money for it than being like the lowest of the low, ready for D appointments, but I'm still in a shelter. Like, that just seems crazy to me. Like, you don't even have a place to live and yet you're worried about being boned. Can someone explain this type of thinking? It's animalistic, to say the least. Sorry.
So my mom is on this whole, you can't come back to my house, but the kids can come back to my house type of thing. So I call him up and he like, oh, shawty, my wife. Excuse me, your wife what? We still try to work things out sometimes. We still work things out or whatever. And I stay at a friend's house, but we still, me being the stupid sprung over some dick that I was, I'm still having sex with this man, unprotected. And he comes to me. I'm like, this nigga gave me something. Isn't that crazy? Because that's like my first thought. Like, your period didn't come because he gave you something.
And I hate to stop it again so soon, but I just want to say something. Like, am I the only person in the world that gets kind of irritated by watching these type of women? And it's certainly not all, but it seems like a lot of these women who I've been doing videos on lately, they all have this weird, out of nowhere laughter about a situation that's clearly not even funny. Like, and they just find it hilarious as they're telling the story, laughing at their own jokes, laughing at stuff that's not funny, like tripping over their sentence, repeating themselves. Like, I don't know how many times I had to go through this video and cut her repeating herself. It's just so you guys wouldn't have to go through it. But I just wanted to stop and say that really quick. You women need to be conscious of like how you're having conversations, because it's already annoying enough for most men to listen to you talk. But then when you're laughing at inappropriate places or going on, repeating yourself, come on. It's just like, shut the F up at that point. I mean, really.
So I go and I look it up. And I look it up on Dr. Google. Her bathroom floor wasn't so dirty, I would have fell out on the floor. And it was just like, I gotta tell him I'm pregnant. I don't want to have this baby. I just want to get an abortion, and I want that to be that. And I'm like, Daddy. He like, what's up, baby girl? I'm like, I have something to tell you. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, are you serious? Because I really thought I couldn't have kids. Like, I'm like, you're 43. You're not that old, like, to be like, oh, I can't have kids no more. And so he was like, so, I'm like, so what? Because I'm not going to have this baby. And he was like, oh, cool. Like, because I don't need no kids right now. I already told you, like, I'm not in a place to be starting a family. And I'm just like, cool. We'll go get some shmoney. And I'm going to go ahead and go to this clinic. Make an appointment. It's an hour away from my house. And I'm waiting for her at home. Or not at home, at the girl's house that I'm staying at. I'm waiting for her. He texts me, he like, you leave for this appointment yet? I'm like, no, I'm waiting for her, but I'm gonna go. Like, chill out. And so I call her on the phone. I'm like, where are you? Like, well, I thought about it, and abortion is not something I believe in, so I won't be able to take you. And I'm like, okay, now I gotta call him and explain to him, you're gonna have to take me there if you want this abortion to go through, because I want this abortion to go through. Get my jacket on, get my shoes on, get on the train. And he was like, see, what you doing here? You supposed to be, handling this situation. I need you to take it back down to a 2. He's like, no, 10, 2, whatever you supposed to. Like, he's really height. And I'm just like emotional and pregnant and like, just chill out. I don't want this baby either. So I just like politely move him out the way and go sit down on the couch. He's like, "See, you just want to have this baby. I'm not trying to have no more kids. I got 5 kids. My youngest is just turned 20. And I'm like, "Oh, we're the same age." Joking and stuff. He's like, "It's not funny." And this and that. He sit down on the couch and he just kept going and going. Eventually he said something and I was like, "Nigga, who the fuck are you talking to?" And he was like, "I'm talking to you." And I just stood up. I had the money in my jacket pocket. I stood up and I was like, "You know what? I'm having this baby." And I just threw the money at him. The money went everywhere. Then he leaned forward. Then he said, "Kelsey, I'm gonna need you to keep me strong right now." And before I could even say anything, he was like, "Bitch, you playing with me bad."
And you know something? A lot of people may have a problem with the fact that he hit her and the fact that she was pregnant. But keep in mind, lady, you were literally in a shelter. You already had 2 kids by 2 different guys. You were in no position to bring another child into the world either, just like he wasn't. Both of y'all was being irresponsible as heck. But now you came over to his house. Instead of actually taking your butt on that train and going to where your freaking appointment is, you came to him like, "Oh, you gonna take me." Why didn't you just drive a train down there and then take a cab back or something? Why was that not an option? If you didn't want that baby, then you shouldn't have been at his house holding it over his head. You should have been at that clinic taking care of that situation. You were having a baby by a married man, and that's a no-go. And granted, I don't even believe in abortion, but when kids are brought into bad circumstances, I don't think that's fair. Gosh, and I hate to be this person. I hate to say this kind of stuff, but it's so it needs to be said. Like, you're not much to look at. I don't know a whole lot of. That's why you had 2 kids by 2 guys and they weren't in the picture, because nobody's really trying to claim you as a baby mama. 1. Number 2, you're broke. You're in a shelter. Your family doesn't even want to help you. Number 3, like, you're holding stuff over his head. You're in his house playing games. I totally understand why he hit you. Moving on.
I just was like, I finally realized what happened. I got up and I was like, "You bitch. You." Boxing, like, I'm swinging, he's swinging, he hitting me. Like, I'm a big girl. I wasn't as big as I am now, and they're fighting and he just hitting me, and I'm like, I can't take too many more of these. I'm pregnant and I'm facing the kitchen. His back is to the kitchen. I turn us around somehow while we're fighting, and now my back is to the kitchen. So we're fighting and I'm backing up, and I get to the kitchen and I just run for the drawer. The knife out, he just came and he was like, "Bow," and kicked the drawer right closed. So I don't got no knife. He's like, "You trying to stab me?" And just took his hands and just put them around my neck. And the first thing he said after he did that, he said, "They're gonna find your ass in a ditch today." And so I felt myself like going out. He just snapped out of it because he just let me go. And he was like, "Get the fuck out." And I was like, "Nope, I'm calling the police. You hit me." I go to the hospital. Well, first I go to the police station. I make a police report. Then I go to the hospital. And then I go back to the girl's house that I was staying at. And her mom happened to be there. And she was like, "Well, now you can get housing." And I was like, "Bitch, what? I just got my ass beat and you talking about housing?" We did that. We get back into a shelter. And I hide my pregnancy from everybody. When I went into labor, I already made the decision to give my child up for adoption.
So the story gets worse. She decides to go through with the pregnancy and then just give the child up for adoption. Like, honestly, I don't understand that. Like, to me, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want to bring a child all the way into full term and then give them up, because at that point, you don't know what kind of life you're setting them up for. At least if you were to terminate the pregnancy, you know they wouldn't have a life. So therefore, you wouldn't need to worry about what type of life they would have. Whereas if you have a child and then they end up in foster care, we already know how bad that usually goes. So it's a situation where, was she in the right in this? Did she make any good decisions in this? I don't think so. But there's a little bit left.
I had a family I already chose a family because I decided to give my child up for adoption. Delivered a healthy 7-pound baby, and the adoptive parents came and they came to look at him. I call, my baby father, and I'm like, "I'm in the hospital. I just had the baby. He's not coming home with me. I just wanted to let you know."
See, She literally used the child and held it up over his head, even up to the bitter end. She wanted to have that baby to use to try to mind control that dude. And he literally messed up by sleeping with that young girl. But it's like one of those things where he kind of got what he deserved. I mean, you were stepping out on your wife and, you got exactly what you chose. But it's a situation where this lady, she's telling us the story. And this is obviously years after it happened. To me, it sounds like it's probably true. But it sounds so horrible. Like, it makes her look like she's the trashiest of the trash individuals. And yet you had the nerve, the unmitigated gall to talk about me and my husband and we're gonna be like this. Like, what? Ma'am. Even if she did make a change and a turnaround, the way she's telling this story and laughing about all this trash circumstances leads me to believe that there's still a lot of irresponsibility and narcissism still left within her. And so I would not recommend anybody doing anything with her at all, like not even sex, because she might mess around and get pregnant and trap you too.
And he was like, what? That's stupid. He was like, you're stupid. Like, he just went in on me. That's stupid. What kind of mom gives their baby up? He's like, I knew you was up to something. I hadn't talked to you since the whole, situation between us. He's like, that's dumb. You should have just had an abortion. Son, you just told me you don't want any kids. You don't want a relationship. You just want to do what you want to do. Like, I'm not finna take care of another child by myself.
You're not finna do it again, then you shouldn't have finna been sleeping with that man unprotected. You should have been put a chastity belt on and saved it. Try to be the next Mother Teresa or something. That's my advice for you.
Again, go on, and then eventually, maybe like 3 weeks after I delivered, I'm sitting at home one day and I called his dad and I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, I told you to go get my son. And I literally had maybe like a week left before that 30-day period was up. So the next day, I got up in the morning and went to the courthouse. I signed all the paperwork that I needed to sign in order to revoke adoption rights. And later on that night, we picked him up from the foster family. The story of how I have a son by a married man, how I became a side chick. Now, with that being said, let me explain something to you guys. I do not condone that. That was me when I was very young and I was looking for love, and I was looking for love in men. I'm grateful that God turned my ashes into beauty, because I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you guys today. I wouldn't have the amazing 7-year-old that I have today. I'm never going to get that person. Even if they do end up leaving their wife for you, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be with you. Like, oh, don't date older people. That's my story, and thank you guys for listening.
Don't date older people. I think the real moral of the story is men don't sleep with young women that don't have any sexual responsibility. Stay away from her. Don't even talk to her, because she's going to trap you. She's going to try to trap you, even if you're married. Like, that's just crazy to me. Anyway, you guys, this story, I hope there is some type of redemption for people like this, because she did end up stepping up to the plate and taking care of her son. So that's one thing I can say. Like, she made the right decision. You laid down and made that baby. You go ahead and deal with the responsibility and taking care of it. Even if you had to do it by yourself, you made that decision to have sex with that man. You were so thirsty for that penis, and you're supposed to be a lady. Guys are supposed to thirst after you. You're supposed to be the prize. You're supposed to be the treat. And yet you have women thirsty over dudes like that. Like, it's kind of weird. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Is she just thirsty for any guy that'll give her attention? Or do you think the guy was a master manipulator and took advantage of this young girl? Don't forget to leave me a comment and like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.